Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at solving linear equations with multiple variables. There are two main keys here to remember. The first is that we're going to treat every other variable as if it were a constant. So if it was a 2 or a 5 or 7, what would I do to it? I'm going to do the same thing to a 2x or a 3y squared. The other thing to remember is that what we want to do first is use the addition principle to move everything with the variable you're solving for to one side of the equation and every other term that doesn't have that variable to the other side. So we're going to start off hopefully with a couple of nice easy ones. So we want to solve 4x minus 3y equals 2 for y. So we start with our equation, and then again our goal is to get everything with a y, namely this guy, to one side of the equation and everything without it to the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the 4x from both sides. And then we have negative 3y equals negative 4x plus 2. Now I can't simplify negative 4x plus 2, so it is what it is. So the addition principle has been used. Everything with a y is on one side, everything without the y is on the other. And then we use the multiplication principle. I want to get rid of that coefficient of negative 3, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. Now remember, every single term needs to be divided by negative 3. So we end up with y equals 4x minus 2 over 3. So remember, we need to fully simplify it. We don't leave negatives in the denominator, so I don't want to leave a negative 3 in the denominator. I want to change the sign of everything so that it's 4x minus 2 over 3. And remember, you can always check your answers by plugging this in for your value for y, just like you would check it if you got y equals 4. So I would check it here too. So I would have 4x minus 3 times 4x minus 2, over 3. Does that equal 2? Well, when I go to multiply, I know my 3's are going to cancel. So I'm going to have 4x minus 4x. And then remember that negative sign needs to distribute. So negative 4x and then minus negative 2 becomes 2. So again, is that 2? Well, the 4x's cancel, and we're left with 2 equals 2. So you can always check it that way. Okay, let's try another one. So we have the equation 5x minus 2y equals 4 minus 3x, and we want to solve it for x. So notice we have two terms with our variable. So we're going to need to put those two terms on one side, all the other terms on the other. So we start with our equation. And then I'm going to move all of my x's to the left side. It doesn't matter which side you put them on. I could put them all on the left, I could put them all on the right. Right? Typically, we'll end up putting them on the left, but it really doesn't matter. So I'll add 3x to both sides, simplify it. So 5x plus 3x gives me 8x, and then I still have my minus 2y. On the right, I still have my 4. So everything with an x is on the left, but I still have terms without an x also on the left, so that's the next thing we need to do. So we add 2y to both sides. Notice that we can't simplify the right-hand side, so it's just 2y plus 4. We want to make sure that our terms are in the correct order, right? So remember, it's always the different variables are in alphabetical order, and then also in terms of decreasing order of exponents. So since there is no y on 4, that should be the last term. So 2y plus 4, not 4 plus 2y. Next, we want to divide by 8, right? So we did all of our addition principle, and now we're doing our multiplication principle. So everything gets divided by 8. Again, we want to make sure that we simplify this. We have a 2 and a 4 on top. We have an 8 on the bottom. So we have a common factor of 2. So we need to cancel that out. And we end up with x equals y plus 2 over 4. And again, you can always check it by plugging that back in for both of your x's. And at the end, we should have the same thing on each side. So next, we're going to solve for t, and it's 4t plus 3x squared minus 2x equals 3tx minus 4x plus 1. So we have And two terms that have a t, so we want all of those to be on the same side, everything else to be on the other side. So we start with our equation, and then I'm going to take everything on the left that doesn't have a t and get rid of it. So I'm going to subtract the 3x squared, I'm going to add the 2x to both sides. And then we'll clean it up, so we have just 4t on the left, and then negative 4x plus 2x is the negative 2x over here. So 3tx minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 1. Then we'll move our 3tx over. So we'll subtract it from both sides. And we have negative 3tx plus 4t on the left, negative 3x squared minus 2x plus 1 on the right. So now everything on the left has a t. Notice that we can't actually combine them like we did before, so it's just negative 3tx plus 4t. But again, everything has a t, and the reason that we do that is because now everything has a t, I can factor it out. So that next step is to factor out the t, the thing that we're looking for. This is usually the step that people forget or they get confused on what to do next. So again, we put everything with a t on one side for the fact that we can then take it out. So now we have t times something. That something happens to be a binomial, but that's fine. We're still done with the addition principle, and we move on to the multiplication principle. So we divide both sides by what t is being multiplied. So again, in this case, negative 3x plus 4. So we get the t is this guy, negative 3x squared minus 2x plus 1, all over negative 3x plus 4. The next step is optional. Here, I don't like having a lot of negatives, so notice in the original fraction, we had 3 negatives and 2 positives. So if we change the sign on everything, now we have 3 positives and only 2 negatives. So that's all that I did there. I changed the signs on everything. And that one you can kind of get away with not doing. It depends on which one you think is more simplified. Again, I prefer to have less negative signs, so I'll change it. Okay, so now we're going to solve for x in 2xy plus 5x minus 4y equals 4xy squared plus 3x minus 6. So we got a lot of different terms here, but again, our goal is to put everything with an x, which are these 4 terms on the same side, everything without an x on the other side. So again, we have our equation rewritten. We'll start by getting rid of anything with an x on the left, so we'll add 4y to both sides. Couldn't really do anything on the right, so I still have all of those 4 terms, right? Nothing combines there. And then I'll move everything with an x on the right to the left. So again, everything with an x on the right is being moved over. I can combine these two, so I will. So we end up with negative 4xy squared plus 2xy plus 2x equals 4y minus 6. Again, just like last time, everything has an x, so I'm going to factor it out. So I get x times negative 4y squared plus 2y plus 2 equals, the right side didn't change, it's still 4y minus 6. And now again, we're done with the addition principle. We'll use the multiplication principle. Divide by whatever x is being multiplied by. So our next step is to divide by that negative 4y squared plus 2y plus 2. So x equals that lovely fraction there. And we want to simplify it. We're not going to go into crazy details on simplifying, but notice that every coefficient, every constant is even. So the bare minimum we have to do here is cancel a common factor of 2. So we should have 2y minus 3 over negative 2y squared plus y plus 1. And so now we'll do our last one. So solve for y. 2x squared y minus 4x squared plus 3xy. So we've got 2 terms with a y on the left equals 3x squared y plus 6x minus 7. We've got 1 term with a y on the right. So we're going to put all of those on the same side, everything else on the other side. So I'll start by getting rid of anything that doesn't have a y on the left. So I'll add 4x squared to both sides. Again, we can combine those two, so we get 3x squared y plus 10x squared minus 7 on the right. On the left is the two terms that had the y. Next, we'll get rid of the y on the right to put it over on the left. So we'll subtract 3x squared y from both sides. And again, we can combine them over here. So we get negative x squared y plus 3xy on the left. Everything has a y. Equals 10x squared minus 7. Nothing has a y. So again, the whole reason to do that is so that I can factor it out on the left. So y times negative x squared plus 3x equals 10x squared minus 7. And we'll do the multiplication principle by dividing. Divide everything by negative x squared plus 3x. And so y equals 10x squared minus 7 over negative x squared plus 3x. And again, if you wanted to, we could change the signs there, but we've got 2 positive, 2 negative anyway, so even if we changed it, we'd still have 2 positive, 2 negative. So there's really no reason to go any further than that. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.